This video is going to be a film study look at Sione Vaki. Now that we have 2 preseason games down, you can kind of see patterns emerge of players that are separating themselves from the pack in terms of either trying to make the roster, trying to be active on game days. A guy like Vaki who can play on special teams either as a returner or on coverage teams, given his dual background nature at Utah, playing safety and playing running back. And then the film that we have of him having an impact in the run game, in the pass game, particularly against the Chiefs on Saturday. Yes, the Chiefs were playing some softer coverages at times to give up underneath throws. No problem. I'll accept that. Having said that and admitted it up front, Vaki's making people miss, number one. He's got tremendous awareness when he catches the football. He seems to be a guy that when he runs his route, even if it's just sitting down in front of the zone, he's got a good idea of where the defenders are in terms of leverage side, where he should turn and burst once he catches the football. Nate Sudfeld clearly trusted him in that situation. Late second quarter, it's a drive that I'll kind of diagram and go over in detail, maybe early Tuesday morning or something like that. Trying not to pack too many videos together, but it's fun to be able to put these out. I enjoy trying to produce them for you guys. If you have any suggestions for improving the nature of them or how I go through them, feel free to let me know in the comments section. As it stands, we'll go through about 10 or 11 plays of Vaki in the run game and the pass game, how explosive he is, making people miss, first of all. He's committed. He's a guy who, if you're going to tackle him, and he did take one big hit against the Chiefs, if you're going to tackle him, you better be committed too, because he certainly is when he's got the ball in his hands. I think he's a significant talent. Obviously sitting behind at least 2 people on the depth chart, probably 3 with Craig Reynolds' experience. I mean, Reynolds, you're talking about a guy who scored in the playoffs on a 4th and goal from the 1, so trusted and proven. I think Vaki belongs in that same class as Reynolds because of his versatility and all the things he can do with the football in his hands. Let's get the film started, and we'll begin this with a couple of run plays against the Chiefs, then some pass receptions against the Chiefs, and we'll finish with a couple of runs against the Giants. He's committed, well coached, obviously. He's on the Lions football team. He's someone who I could see being used as a blocker in certain situations. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to, be a fullback, but to me, he looks like a guy that will be a surprise blocker. We haven't seen that yet. Just from watching the film, he certainly looks like a guy to me who'd be good at damn near everything he does. As an aside, check out how the Mike backer and the backside inside linebacker approach this outside zone stretch scheme into the boundary. The Mike just takes off. They were actually moving pre-snap, so they had an inkling about where this was going to go. And he's ahead of the game in terms of the guy who's trying to block him. So he's going to actually turn back to the blocker and pin him back into the backside will linebacker, who in this scheme is free. It's a 4-3 structure. Steve Spagnuolo has been a 4-3 guy for years. Not necessarily anything related to Vaki, but I enjoy the 4-3 even though I've never coached it. Here you've got a really cool run scheme by the Lions, almost a buck sweep look. They're cutting the backside defensive end. Were it not for this nickel blitz off the edge, then this potentially could be a much bigger run for Vaki. I think it only goes down as a 6-yard gain. What I notice about it for him is how he puts his foot in the ground and makes his cut, and it's abrupt. You actually see some of the dirt, grass kick up here, and he's downhill now. You've got the backside D end has been cut by the tight end. Additional to that, backside inside linebacker's been cut, but he's doing a good job sprawling and then getting back up to his feet. And lo and behold, look who makes the tackle. It's the nickel defender blitzing from the other side and the backside inside linebacker who was cut and is still able to get involved in the play. It tells you about the speed and tenacity and aggressiveness that there is at the NFL level, even in a preseason game. This is the same play. Vaki's going to be horizontal and then put his foot in the ground, come downhill. 43 is the guy I'm talking about making the tackle, and then off screen here is a nickel defender lining up over the twins, and he's going to show up in the screen and help make the tackle. There's the DN getting cut and the backside inside linebacker getting chopped down as well. Vaki unable to break a tackle there, but I think he still shows how athletic he is. We're going to get into some of his pass receptions here. For him to be a guy who played 2 sides of the ball, in college, he sure is really smooth when he catches it. Now, look, this ball should go to Isaiah Williams, who is someone I'll do a video about probably later in the week, maybe Wednesday or Thursday. I think Williams has really leveled up in terms of the other receivers that are trying to make the roster, trying to be the number 4, number 5 receiver. For me, he doesn't look like a backside X receiver. No, that's true. But he looks like a guy who's dangerous with the ball in his hands. And through 2 games, I think he's been making plays. He is wide open running here right to left, but Sudfeld is going to let Vaki clear and let the zone droppers get a little bit more depth. Looks like a blown coverage here by this backer, if you ask me. Too high safety structure, almost a Tampa look by that linebacker / safety, and then Vaki's able to catch it underneath. And he's a load to bring down. He doesn't look like a guy that's fun to tackle at all. Super aggressive in terms of initiating contact or accepting it. There doesn't seem, like I said earlier, he's committed to everything that he does. I have him as 1 kick return for 19 yards. I thought there was a 23-yard return in there, but I couldn't find it. This is the same play from the end zone angle. It's 3rd and 7, late second quarter. We're talking about inside of 2 minutes left. The acceleration from here, he's on the right hash, by the way. The boundary is to our left. The field is to our right. And then he's outrunning people. For as tough and versatile as he is, I think he's being underrated just as a pure athlete. 1st and 10, about 45 seconds later, another catch, and then dips through 1 tackle, takes a big hit, secures the football. Looks like he has good ball security to me. I have no idea if fumbles were ever an issue in college, but he's taken some big hits. One of them you see here, another you'll see here in a moment. Again, you have too high safety structure by the Chiefs. What looks like a Tampa release by that inside backer. Maybe he's a safety, I don't know. Corner to the top side. Maybe he's in man because you can see he's got a man turn as opposed to the corner down here. As soon as he catches it, turns and goes. Maybe over the course of preseason, and if and when he does get in during the regular season, we'll see him turn the wrong way. Meaning, maybe at some point we'll see him catch and turn over his right shoulder and take a big hit. But so far, I think he's 3 for 3 on catching the ball and then turning the correct side away from leverage, away from the defender, if you will. It's almost like he either A, has a 6th sense about it, or B, he's taken a look before turning to face the quarterback, and he knows where the free or open space is going to be. Yet another pass play to him, not a screen nature. You got a split 40 look by the Chiefs, 2-3 techniques. They went to this concept twice. He is able to get out of bounds. I call it a zig route. Some people call it choice, whatever you want to call it, whereby basically he's either reading a man defender or he's reading leveraged zone defenders to either cut it across someone's face if it is man, or bring it out into the flats in case the linebacker is behind him, meaning he's inside leverage, maybe the inside linebacker be on the hash. In this case, he turns it up, and then he's got the athleticism to just put his foot in the ground and beat someone to the sideline. There's times with Vaki in the 2 preseason games where he just looks like a better athlete than the people he's facing on the defensive side. I guess in a general sense, you could say he looks like a 2nd stringer, and some of the guys he's going against look like 3rd stringers or maybe even 4th. Another, what I would call zig route, some people call it choice, over the middle. He ends up cutting it over the middle because this linebacker is outside shade of him. Maybe he's outside by a yard and a half, an outside shoulder. So Vaki's going to bring it vertical. If this linebacker, let's say his feet was here, then Vaki would potentially bring this route out to the sideline, which is why people call it a choice route, just based on leverage. And then he does take a huge shot from Connor. Man, it seems like the Chiefs just have multiple DBs at each position who can play. That has to do with their coaching, obviously, and how well that I think they've drafted in recent years. Multiple guys that they put out on the field play well, execute their technique, tackle well, cover well. They just seem like an exceptionally prepared defense to me. And this is coming from someone who obviously is a Ravens fan and would root against the Chiefs in pretty much every game they play in 2024. Nonetheless, I have to give them credit. Seems like everyone they throw out there at corner, nickel, and safety can play. Moving back 1 week, this is a pin pull toss against a nickel front by the Giants. So there's 11 personnel on the field for Detroit. The one tight end is up here, and you will get the end zone angle in a moment. Two receivers are going to pin down to the field here. And then on the nickel, the left tackle is going to pull and wrap and get out in space. And Vaki just seems to be very natural at reading blocks and then being able to make a cut, and then also squeezing between defenders that are close enough together such that you're a little bit surprised by it. I don't know what his Madden ratings are. I'm not blessed enough to be able to play Madden or have a system at this point, but I would imagine his break tackles rating is going to go up after the preseason, meaning it was probably given a certain judgment or evaluation before he actually stepped foot on an NFL field for a game. And now after 2 preseason games and then after the third one, people are going to have to admit he's better than they maybe thought. As an aside, one of the things I've been talking about with multiple people, either in our Discord or when I do videos, is 11 personnel run game to the boundary. Of course, it's a big facet of what Ben Johnson does. When you have one tight end on the field and the other team is responding with their nickel, meaning 4-2-5, 5 defensive backs on the field, you're generally going to get the 3 technique into the boundary. So what makes this play cool for me is Ben Johnson knew that he was going to get a 1 or a 2 eye to the field, which case the center is just going to go ahead and reach him. This tackle is pulling and wrapping because of the 2 pin down blocks that you've got to the field, to the play side, which allows this left guard to try to work up the difficult block to get to this inside linebacker here who's got all this flow between the running back and the line going to the field, our left, his right. And 78, unfortunately, is unable to get all the way to him. You can see as this play develops, if he was able to get to this side of this linebacker, then Vaki would potentially have a big opportunity to cut this back. There'd be less congestion there, less people he's dealing with over near the left sideline. Draw play will be the last run play that I show, last play overall. I'm intrigued by the pick. I will say this, there's 3 selections in the Lions draft this year. Manu, Mahogany, the offensive lineman from Boston College, and Vaki, that I understand some people would say, well, how much are you going to get out of them in this particular year? I think drafting Mahogany, who a year ago would have been, I think, a much higher round draft pick, number 1. Number 2, he had a good year at Boston College as it is. Manu is obviously a big and very raw, in some ways not ready for prime time talent at left tackle. And then Vaki, a later round draft pick, a guy who can play 2 positions, projected to be a special teams contributor from day one, I think is a great security blanket as a potential number 3 running back, meaning Craig Reynolds is obviously going to be ranked ahead of him for most situations, but you can't look at this and tell me that it doesn't look like a guy who can contribute in the pass game. Let's do it this way. Let's say for whatever reason that the Lions were to release him. They're not going to do that. Based on this film that you've seen, you guys have watched both preseason games live, I'm sure. Based on what you've seen and the film that I've shown you here, you know that he will be picked up by some other NFL team. There will probably be multiple teams vying for his services. This is severely underrated pick, if you ask me. I think at this point, you're talking about 14 touches on offense and 131 yards of offense through 2 games. So about 9.3, almost 9.4 yards per touch on offense. I think he has 1 return for 19 yards on a kick return. I think this is a guy who theoretically in a game could give you 4 or 5 carries for 25 yards, make 2 tackles on special teams coverage, and give you a 30 or 35-yard return. That's a very unique talent, someone who can impact the game in multiple ways. I mean, heck, how far-fetched is it to say that Sione Vaki could possibly get out there on defense in a preseason game and look like he belongs? I'm not saying that he could ever play on, particularly not for this year's Lions secondary. But in any case, he's a fun player to watch. This was a fun video for me to try to produce. Now that there's 2 games film out there, it's going to be a whole lot easier to look at certain guys, Manu, Isaiah Williams, Hendon Hooker, who was, I think, 9 for 12 or 10 for 12 passing this week, which went a little bit under the radar even by myself in the reaction video. My next film study video that I'll do about a player will be Isaiah Williams. I intend to look at him, Caden Davis. I know that Fountain and others had been given some respect and some talking points from media sources. To me, when you watch the film, Isaiah Williams sticks out among that group. Caden Davis certainly had the long touchdown catch against the Chiefs, I believe, in the third quarter. But for my money, based on what I've seen through 2 games, if I had to pick a wide receiver that would make the team and be I guess at this point the 4th or 5th wide receiver on the roster, it will be Isaiah Williams based on what I've seen. In any case, you guys let me know what you think of the video, the plays that I chose to try to illustrate the impact that Vaki has had so far. I mean, heck, I probably showed you more than half of his overall touches through 2 games. If you think other Lions fans would enjoy the video, please consider grabbing a link to it, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach. Additional to that, I'm working on some other intros for Lions and Ravens videos. If you have any suggestions about footage or portions of the city that would be interesting to show in an intro video, I have the ability in a little bit of time before the season starts to work up a couple more intros to kind of rotate or cycle intros in and out so that it doesn't get boring or stale. And please let me know in the comment section or consider emailing me or sending me a message on Twitter. Appreciate you guys' time.